Are you lonesome tonight? Do you miss me tonight? Are you sorry we drifted apart?
Welcome to Significant Lovers.
Welcome.
We are your hosts. My name is Mel.
And I'm Kel.
And thanks for joining us.
We're cousins, friends. What else can we say?
We used to be roommates. We're co-hosts, creative partners.
Yep. Neighbors, kind of?
Kind of. Live in the same neighborhood. Yeah, best of friends.
Related.
And yeah, you might know us from our old podcast, Another Bite of Twilight, where we talked about Twilight. And now this is our 5th episode.
Wow.
Of this
5th episode.
New podcast. And guys, this is a wicked long one, so we're gonna waste no time. We're gonna just go right into it, okay? So we might as well just start now.
Yeah.
1 minute in. This is when James Taylor met Carly Simon.
Wow.
What's your perception of their relationship, Kelly?
I don't really know anything. I guess that he was kind of a jerk or something, but I don't know anything else. Yeah.
Which surprised me. I mean, I'm not going to spoil it, but he has such a soft voice, and he's so, like, his music is so sweet.
Yeah.
So, and he seems so gentle. I really never knew anything about their relationship, and I would always get confused whether he was actually married to Carly Simon or Carole King, but it's Carol Simon.
It's Carol Simon.
Carly.
Neither.
Carol Simon
Carly Simon.
Carly Simon was his wife of several years. They had a beautiful relationship that I would describe as bitter.
Ooh.
I know, I guess that's not very beautiful.
They had a beautiful relationship. I would describe it as bitter.
Bitter? Toxic.
Bitter, toxic. Okay.
And
this is gonna be a good episode.
Heartbreaking, I would say.
And heartbreaking.
But also very sweet at times. So
yeah, it can be that way.
Yeah, exactly.
In life.
That's what made it so heartbreaking. But yeah, our boy James Vernon Taylor, he was born on March 12th, 1948. He was one of 5 children, the second oldest. His dad, Isaac, he was a doctor who I think is like kind of well known in medicine. And later became the dean of medicine at the University of North Carolina. And his mom, Gertrude Trudy, she was like a painter and a weaver and a photographer. And I don't know if that's like what
she sounds cool.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like what she did or if that was like hobbies.
Yeah.
A part of being like a homemaker, I'm not sure. He was born in Boston, actually. He's a Boston boy.
Everybody connects.
I know, seriously. So many of our couples are Massachusetts based.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
And we're from Massachusetts, if you didn't know. But at age 3, James's family relocated to Chapel Hill, North Carolina. You might know the song Carolina in My Mind. And they would still go back to Massachusetts, though, to spend the summers in Martha's Vineyard.
Oh, really?
That will be significant.
I love Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah, they're a big Martha's Vineyard family, the Taylors.
Wow.
At age 7, James's father actually went off on a 2-year-long expedition to Antarctica.
Really?
To do research there. When he returned, he was an alcoholic.
Oh.
I know.
Oh my god. Wait, how long was it?
For 2 years.
2 years, okay. I thought, for some reason I heard years and I thought months. I was like, wow, 2 months he became alcoholic.
2 years.
Jeez.
That led to the breakdown of his parents' marriage, which had a big impact on James. And later on in his life, I actually don't know how I know this, it's in my notes, but I've read it somewhere, that in therapy sessions with his father theorized that he subconsciously never loved James's mom because his own mother died during childbirth, and so he never let himself get attached to his wife.
What? It's kind of cruel. I mean, maybe it wasn't intentional, but...
Yeah, subconsciously. But, so obviously James has a lot of, like, family trauma there. growing up in Martha's Vineyard in the summers, he met a guy named Danny Korchmar, an aspiring guitarist, and they began singing folk music together in coffee shops as a duo called Jamie and Koch as teenagers. And during those teen years, James really struggled. He went to a school called Milton Academy in Massachusetts, actually. It was a boarding school. And he originally had really good grades, but he was really depressed and struggled a lot with the pressure of school and everything. And he would upwards of 20 hours a day, like, just sleep. So when he was a teenager, he checked himself into McLean Hospital in Belmont, Massachusetts. Our Aunt Christine.
Our aunt worked there.
She worked there for many years. Hi, Christine.
Yeah.
And he lived there for 9 months, actually.
Wow.
And finished his school at the Arlington School, which is, I think, a school in the hospital, which is crazy.
Wow.
And he also wrote a ton of music while he was at McLean's. So that just goes to show if you're going through a tough time, you know, something good can come out of it. And
something beautiful.
Yeah, and good for him for checking himself in.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like there probably was, like, a lot more stigma about that back in the day.
I know. That's weird. This will sound wrong, but it's, like, weirdly nice to hear. Because, I don't know. I just always think of... I know it's so not true at all, but I always think of stuff like that as, like, being a modern thing. Like, teens are depressed, you know.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, people have always been struggling. And,
yeah.
I mean, you can, like, struggle and still, you know, be, like, very successful and a well-known musician and creative. Like, you don't have to be ashamed of it, and, like, there's nothing wrong with getting yourself help. So
couldn't have said it better, Mel.
Yeah, I mean, I probably could have. But actually, his bandmate Danny encouraged him to check himself out of the hospital after 9 months, and so then they headed to New York and formed a band with their friends Joel O'Brien and Zachary Weisner called the Flying Machine. In New York, James really struggled and experimented with drugs.
No.
I know. He started experimenting with heroin, which his friend Danny was really upset about.
Kind of like John Lennon.
Yeah, that's so true. Everything connects. I feel like...
How's everyone doing heroin?
Yeah, seriously. He would actually perform in Washington Square Park and then fall asleep.
Oh, man.
I know. The band released some music together, but it wasn't really a hit. And he was just in a really bad place and was running out of money. In 1967, he was dropped by his manager. He called his father, Isaac, who traveled to New York to stage an intervention and bring James, who was then 19, back to North Carolina.
Oh my God, he's only 19?
Mm-hmm. So he brought him back to North Carolina to get help for his drug addiction. Later that year, when he was sober, James then moved to London with his friend Danny, and they got hooked up with the Beatles' talent scout. Again,
nice.
Connects to our last episode.
I'm so excited to hear you Beatles.
Yeah. And they played the Beatles' James's demo of a song called Something in the Way She Moves, or they played it to Paul McCartney and George Harrison.
George totally stole.
I know. Yeah, then they stole the line for the song Something. And then he was then the first non-British artist to be signed by Apple Records.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he really collaborated with the Beatles a lot throughout his career. So he recorded his first album in 1968 and, yeah, again, collaborated with the Beatles on this album. During this time, a close friend of his named Suzanne, who he used to get high with, had actually committed suicide. I don't think they ever were romantically linked, but she was the inspiration for the song Fire and Rain, the verse, like, Suzanne, the dreams they made put an end to you.
I can't picture it.
Oh, okay.
But that's beautiful.
Yeah. But during this time, James also began using heroin again.
No.
I know. 1969, after recording his first album, he returned to the U.S. and underwent treatment again in Chicago, and there they put him on methadone maintenance to get him clean from heroin, but then he just got hooked on that instead. So,
oh, no.
not really looking good for James. His first album, James Taylor, was then released, which received moderate success, and he used the money from that album to then buy 175 acres of wood on Martha's Vineyard.
Wow.
Because he loves Martha's Vineyard so much. And then he began recording his second studio album, Sweet Baby James, which in 1975 sold 1.5 million copies in its first year and was the number 3rd on the Billboard chart and was nominated for several Grammys, including Album of the Year. And after his success, he began touring and was on a lot of talk shows. He was even on the cover of Time magazine with the headline, The Face of New Rock. And who would look at this cover and say, that's the man I'm going to marry? Carly Simon.
Really?
She was walking down the street. She says, I was walking down the street with my sister. We had just crammed Indian food into our mouths and were walking home. And I looked at that cover of Time magazine, and it was James Taylor, whom I'd never met. And I looked at him for fairly far away, and I said to my sister, I'm going to marry that man.
That's crazy. Mm-hmm. Did she know his music at least?
Yeah, she did. Yeah. And actually, they had met previously. Oh. In Martha's Vineyard.
Still, nice story.
Yeah, it is a nice story. And I was just thinking, I feel like that comes up so often where someone will say, and, you know, with no evidence,
I know,
I'm going to marry that person.
I know.
And then they do.
Yeah, I've heard that too. It's so weird.
And it's like, do they just say it to, like, make it happen? Or
I don't know. Or do they say that a couple times throughout their life?
Because there was a brief period where I would go on dates with people, and then I would text my friend Marissa, like, I'm gonna marry that guy.
No way.
To see if that, like, would then be the person I'd marry, but never would be.
Oh. Well, did you feel it?
No.
Okay, that's probably why.
I know.
Yeah, I can think of someone, I can't remember. Can you think of another example of someone who did that?
Well, my next episode, someone does that too.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Oh my god. I don't know.
It's just such a common thing.
Yeah.
But okay, so Miss Carly Simon, Carly Elizabeth Simon. She was born June 25th in either 1943 or 1945. No one knows what year she was born, not even Wikipedia. I don't know why.
Know?
I'm sure she knows.
Yeah, this happens with, as I said in the Alanis one, the ages are like so mixed up.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I feel like I always thought that, like, celebrities, like, it was just common knowledge what their birthdays are, but some of these people slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
She is Carly Simon of Simon & Schuster. Her dad is Richard L. Simon, the co-founder of the publishing company, who also happened to be a talented musician. I
did not know that.
I had no idea either.
Wow.
So she comes from a lot of money.
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm. Actually, but in her book, she says that her dad had basically lost all of his money and that she's not as rich as it seems.
Okay.
I believe her
word for
it.
Everybody reminds me of, everyone is like Cara Delevingne too.
I know, seriously, yeah. Like,
so many connections.
Seriously, yeah. The publishing heiress, Carly Simon. Her mom, Andrea Heinemann Simon, was a receptionist for Simon & Schuster, but then also became a civil rights activist and the board of directors for Riverdale Mental Health Association for 30 years. Yeah, and she is the second youngest Carly of her siblings. She also has sisters Joanna, Lucy, Carly, and a brother named Peter. She was raised in the Riverdale neighborhood of the Bronx, and despite being well off, she didn't have the happiest childhood. Her dad was really cold and distant and struggled with depression. In her memoir, she writes, after 2 daughters, he'd been counting on a son, a male, a successor to be named Carl. When I was born, he and mommy simply added a Y to the word, like an accusing chromosome, Carly.
Oh.
I know.
Carly
Simon's, yeah.
That is sad.
Wait, is his name Carl? No. Why did they want a boy named Carl so badly?
Is that his dad's name or something?
Maybe. At 7, she was sexually abused by a family friend.
Oh my God, that's horrible.
I know. And at 8, she developed a stutter, which caused her to have a lot of anxiety. And the only escape for her was singing. I know, but she got over that stutter. In the 1960s, at age 16, her father actually passed away of a heart attack. And in 1964, Carly and her sister Lucy formed a musical duo, the Simon Sisters, where they would perform in none other than Martha's Vineyard.
What?
Mm-hmm. And they were signed by Cap Records and had a minor hit. And just before dating James, Carly actually was briefly engaged to a playwright named William Donaldson. And in 1970, Carly signed with Elektra Records and released her self-titled album in 1971, which peaked at number 30 on the music charts, but she wasn't really a huge hit then. All right, that's Carly and James.
Wow.
So
their backstories.
Yep. But like I said, they actually did meet before Carly saw that Time magazine article. There's conflicting reports, but they both obviously spent a lot of time in Martha's Vineyard. Carly's family would also go every single summer.
They had to know each other.
Yeah, they knew of each other. I think Carly says that James, like, she thought of him as, like, one of the cool guys on the island. She's a little bit older than him, though.
Didn't realize that.
So James had said previously, I thought she was quite attractive, but she was and still is 4 years older than I was. So back then when she was 18 and I was 14, she was a bit less approachable than she was when I was 24 years old.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually when you're 14, you don't have a shot with an 18-year-old.
No, unless it's licorice pizza, I guess.
Yeah.
Carly was a huge fan of James, though, especially when he was a hit. And she writes in her book, Boys and Trees, that she had seen a photograph of James and Joni Mitchell. They had actually dated previously. And that she felt...
know that.
Yeah, and she felt like an unexplained rage towards Joni Mitchell.
That's so funny.
I know.
I love it. I love these, like, folky people.
Yeah, there's going to be some more well-known names later on coming up.
I love this scene.
Yeah. There's very much conflicting accounts of when they actually first met as adults, though. If you look online, most sources say that they met at one of Carly's performances at the Troubadour in LA. However, in Carly's memoir, she recounts it differently, that it was actually at James's performance in New York City around Thanksgiving in 1971. She was invited to attend the concert and then invited backstage to meet James. And I'm going to read a little part of her memoir about that encounter.
I mean, I'm sure if she said it, then...
Yeah.
That must be true, right?
I'm going to take her word over, like, the scholars writing about it. So she says, once I laid my eyes on James, a sense of possession overtook me as if a dog fence of little white flags had sprung out of the ground around him. The women on the periphery knew just how far back they must stay from the fence to avoid getting an unpleasant little jolt through their system. He turned toward me and his eyes hadn't even met mine when I said, before I could think, if you ever want a home-cooked meal while you're in New York, I'd love to make lunch for you. He looked somewhere in the direction of my chin with a quick shutter snap of his eyelids and answered, what about tonight? Okay, sure, I said. Yes, please, sure. Let's lunch.
Yes, please. That's cute.
So after that concert, they went to an after party and they danced around the room. Then they go to a friend's house and they smoke weed. Then they go to Carly's. Yeah, then they go to Carly's apartment and James asks if they can get in the bed and just sleep. Just sleep, nothing more. And
Cute.
I'm gonna read a little page again from her memoir. It's kind of long. She says, soft we were sheep whose fleece covered every hard place. We curled, we breathed on each other's necks. We moved our limbs gently and discovered the surface of each other's skin. Very little hair covered either of us. Not the wool of sheep, it was just skin, tender as rose petals. I was too trembly to know where the feeling was coming from, but James, breathing on my hair in my ear, made rise in me. I think there's a typo in here.
Really? Let me see.
hair and made my ear made rise in me a desire.
Hair in my ear made rise in me a desire. Wait. What comes before hair?
But James,
breathing on my hair and my ear made me rise. Breathing on my hair and my ear made rise in me. Yeah, it seems odd. I don't know.
Okay, I think there's a typo in here. Okay, I'm just gonna skip ahead. We Just Go to Sleep was a gentle, unspoken suggestion from the man I had already loved for a year or more. I spent every day with headphones on, listening to his second album, Sweet Baby James, and harmonizing with every song, imagining looking into his eyes and singing with him.
Wow.
While singing along to James's songs, though, I felt a similarity of outlook on the world and a sense of becoming part of the song, part of the story, the voice, and even part of a future, as if I could visualize future generations. Years before, I had learned Circle Round the Sun and had performed it as my solo when Lucy and I were the Simon Sisters. This year, listening to James's first album, I learned the folk song as James sang it, harmonized and phrased as he did, only altering the arrangement a little. Our versions could have been superimposed on each other's. I was in the circle of his love.
Wow.
And then she later writes, this was the same pre-adolescent knobby-kneed boy who had been subconsciously making his way around my dreams for years.
That's crazy that she listened to his music every day and now is lying in bed with him.
I know.
Crazy.
Seriously, it's like a dream come true. She does say on this page about the first time they met and how she was so obsessed with him. Not to skip ahead, but many years later he would accuse me of loving him for being James Taylor, which ironically he meant disparagingly, but it was right on and a very accurate description of the way I felt.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That she agrees that she loved his image more or something, or
I think so, but I feel like she's saying it in a way that's meant to be endearing of yeah, I loved you because you were James Taylor, but that's who you are.
That you are incredible.
Yeah, exactly. He's disassociating himself from the image of him, but that is who he is.
Yeah.
So
I get that.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves here. So almost immediately, actually after this first time, James moved into Carly's apartment in Murray Hill, right away. And Carly writes in her memoir, for the next span of time, he and I were never apart for more than a few days. Then they took a trip to Martha's Vineyard 2 weeks after moving in together, which they both bonded over a lot since they both had connections there. And he showed her around the house that he was planning to build.
Wow.
He actually named a pond on the property Carly's Bottom. And Carly writes that in those early days, she was very hesitant to give away how serious she was about him. However, one day James randomly shares with her that if they were to ever get married, they would have 2 children, a girl named Sarah and a boy named Ben. So again, people just kind of speaking the future into existence.
That's cute.
I know. They actually spent a weekend with James's sister Kate at Martha's Vineyard, who was dating a guy at the time who was pretty terrible and aggressive and just horrible. And one night James yells at the sister's boyfriend and tells him to leave, and then says he's going to go outside and chop wood to get his anger out. And Carly writes that in her memoir, as he's chopping wood, he yells out, "Carly, I love you."
What? Oh my god.
I know. He hadn't said it before. And then as he's chopping wood.
Really? He hadn't said it yet?
No.
Oh
That's the first time she learns of it.
Was she there? Or she was listening?
She was in the house. I think.
Carly, I love you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I wonder I'm sure maybe what did the boyfriend do that was so...
He was just getting aggressive, I think, and up in James's sister's face.
Oh wow.
And Carly writes about that. The way I saw it that night, James had seized the moment, protected his sister, had a catharsis, and in a fit of love-crazed wood chopping, sung my name up to the moon.
Wow.
Yeah. So only a few months into their relationship, Carly goes to LA to record a demo, and James calls her to reveal that their apartment actually had been flooded accidentally.
That's horrible.
After he let the water run.
Oh my god. That'd be so mad.
I know, but apparently there was a problem with the faucet, so he like turned the water on and then it got like fixed, but he left the water running.
Oh, okay.
So he didn't like do it on purpose, but I have a note to read, page 242. I don't know why, but I'm going to read it.
Okay, let's hear it.
Less important than the wallpaper was the moment I learned what had happened. "Is this Carly?" said the familiar, gentle voice on the other end. "This is James Taylor. Not James, but James Taylor." As if after 4 months of proficunity at its finest, he feared I might possibly confuse him with another James. In tension, James's good manners came out, his civility, his old-fashioned North Carolina gentlemanness. I honestly couldn't have cared less about the hot water or the wallpaper or the condition of our record albums, all of which seemed absurd and could be replaced. The only thing I cared about was the sweetest, kindest, least replaceable man on earth was on the other end of the phone. I just thought that was cute.
It does sound sweet.
That year, they also both won a Grammy, but instead of going to the Grammys, they decided to just drive around. And Carly writes in her book that James didn't show any emotion about being nominated or possibly winning at all, and like didn't care. But that she secretly like was really invested and wanted to know if she won the Grammy.
That is a big deal.
Okay, 1972. This is a year and a half into dating. Carly is invited by Mick Jagger to go to a concert in San Francisco where she's interviewing Mick for the New York Times. Just before she's about to go, James starts doing heroin in front of her, Carly, and tells her that she needs to watch him do it so that he'll quit. And Carly writes in her memoir, "Watch," this is what James said, "Watch, I can't have you in the habit at the same time. I just can't. I've got to get rid of this. Maybe if you see me do it, it will take away the cat and mouse game. You have to watch me. I have to let it go."
So then what happened?
So then Carly was really freaked out by that. Soon after that, she goes to London to record her second album, No Secrets. And she says that James can only visit her for a few days at a time because he's in New York. But when he does, he's sleeping all the time, and he's clearly very depressed, and she just assumes that he's doing drugs and sleeping with other people when they're not together, but she doesn't ask about it.
That's upsetting.
I know.
No.
While in London, though, Carly, this is why it's confusing, because, like, it seems like they're not really in a good place, but then Carly gets a call from her sister Lucy that James drove to her mom's house to ask for her hand in marriage.
Oh, wow.
And Carly is really excited, and she says, "Yes, please, always, now." She actually calls him up and says that after she finds out that he asked.
Always.
However, meanwhile, back in London, Carly has a very flirty relationship with Mick Jagger and even fantasizes about sleeping with him.
What?
But they don't do anything.
What?
They never actually sleep together, but there's a very clear sexual tension, and he even tells her that he loves her.
What?
I know.
Wow. Yeah, how can all this be happening at the same time?
I know. I'm like getting confused by it, even though I did research on this.
But people do just kind of push things aside.
Exactly.
Or, you know what I mean? Like, you can have a really bad morning and then a good night, and then, I don't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think, like, part of it, too, is, like, the star appeal. Like, it's Mick Jagger. Like, I feel like at that time period, anybody would have fantasies about someone who they're working closely with who's, like, super famous and a huge sex symbol. So I'll give her a pass for now.
Wow. It's crazy.
But Carly is picking up on James being pretty cold towards his exes, actually. And this I found very interesting. She recounts a time in her memoir where she witnesses James talking, I think it's to Joni Mitchell. Let me find it. She says, "A year earlier, during the first weekend I spent at the cabin, Maggie had called him." I think that's an ex, actually, so not Joni. James picked up the wall phone, mounted on the beams holding the living room ceiling in place. Very politely, never dropping his southern gentleman persona, he warned Maggie not to call him ever again, and when he hung up the phone, he started sweating. At the time, I thought his terseness with her was a sidelong way of making me feel more secure in his life by by providing proof that his relationship with Maggie was over and done with. Still, what had she done and what had gone so terribly wrong that she deserved to be guillotined like that?
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So, like, when James cut someone else, they're, like, done to him.
I wonder why she was calling.
I know, I wonder.
She's like, hi, who are you?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I have your baby.
What?
I don't know.
Oh. Thought you were gonna say
I don't know.
that was something that was revealed or something.
No, I just say it's so hot in here. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm getting delirious. But
Here's some of this ice. I actually feel okay.
oh really?
Maybe because I'm in the audience.
Yeah, probably.
I'm just chilling.
I'm getting nervous. Okay.
Why?
I don't know. I'm like nervous. Okay, I'm gonna snap
guys,
out of it.
Listeners, we get nervous for whatever
I
reason.
know. I know. I have stage fright.
No, I love rock music. I love 60s, 70s. I love hearing about this.
Okay.
I don't know anything about this.
Okay.
I love. I love hearing about relationships.
Okay. Do you like weddings?
Yeah, I do.
Okay,
I
'cause-
wish I went to more.
Yeah. Well, so James and Carly, they're getting married, right? But get this. On the evening of their wedding, Bianca Jagger, Mick Jagger's wife, calls up James and tells him not to marry Carly because she's having an affair with Mick Jagger.
She had to wait till that night.
I know. I think they had a short engagement.
Okay.
So I'll
but
give her
still.
that. But James says to Bianca, I love Carly and I trust Carly and I'm going to marry Carly.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not really fazed by it.
Cool. Was that true?
No, they weren't having an affair. They had a
Okay.
flirtation.
Okay.
So Carly's pretty annoyed by that and
Yeah.
embarrassed by it. But James is really not fazed. So they get married and it's a very quick wedding. Like they plan everything really quickly. It's very small. And then actually James plays a concert that night at Radio
Wow.
City Music Hall where he announces that him and Carly had just gotten married during that earlier in the day.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. And Carly legally takes his last name and writes that this gave her a sense of power and that she felt incredibly safe and confident. She says, never in my life had I felt as sure of anything as I did about my new marriage to James.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And in those early days of their marriage, they had little alone time because of the never-ending renovations on their house in Martha's Vineyard. It was just like constantly contractors coming and going working on this house.
It's so regular.
I know it really is. It's like one of their biggest stressors in their relationship was the construction of this house, which took years and years.
Must have been a nice house.
Yeah, it was a very beautiful house.
I love Martha's Vineyard, so this is cool. Next time I go, whenever that is, I'm going to think about that.
Yeah, you probably should go check out the house.
Yeah.
And because they had little alone time, they'd frequently sneak away to vacant summer houses in Martha's Vineyard.
Just random people's houses?
Apparently to have sex in them, yeah.
Oh my god!
So very romantic.
Scandal.
Yeah. And then 1973, Carly is pregnant with their first child, which she says makes her feel even more in love with James than ever before. But James is drinking a lot during this time period.
Oh man.
Let's see, I have another passage.
Why? Well, I was gonna make a comment. Maybe I should wait till the end of the relationship to have opinions.
Okay.
Because I don't know the whole story yet.
So Carly writes on June 18th, 1973, in her diary, "We're off to New York in a couple of minutes. The day is cold and depressing. I'm not lightening it any. Last night, James got drunk. Again, the problem is grave. He doesn't know why he needs to get drunk, but says he needs to at least 4 times a day. I don't seem to satisfy him much. I don't understand him when he says he needs me. He's so down on himself that he relies not at all on himself, but on chemicals for happiness. He only seeks me out for affection when he fears it's lost. I'm so sad. He's more physical toward me in the presence of other folk than when we are alone. He thinks
Interesting.
when I say I love you that I am asking a question, that I need something in return. Patience, I guess." Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, and during this time period also, they remake the song Mockingbird together, which peaks at number 5 on the charts. It's like, I forget who sings this song before them, but
I'm not sure.
I think it came to them because Carly is pregnant, so yeah.
Let's hear a little bit of it.
Do you wanna?
Sure. Yeah, I kind of want to.
All right.
Yeah, Mockingbird now. Everybody, have you heard? He's gonna buy me a mockingbird. And if that mockingbird won't sing, he's gonna buy me a diamond ring. And if that diamond ring won't shine, he's gonna show.
Yeah, so we just watched a clip of them together. What did you think? It's so cute.
It is. They look so goofy and happy and silly. And she's beautiful.
I know. I do find James attractive.
Yeah, he is. I
He's-
was also like picturing like Martha's Vineyard.
I
Like, looking at his
know.
house. I'm like, chopping wood.
Yeah, he's so tall. And yeah, with his little North Carolina gentlemanness that Carly
Yeah.
really likes.
Oh,
I see what's so attractive about him.
That is quite a red flag, though, that he seems to only like show affection when he fears that she's like lost interest. I'm not sure how she phrased it, but that he's not that interested until he thinks it's like a push-pull game type of thing,
Yeah, and it seems like that's how Carly feels a lot throughout the relationship, but then like forgets that feeling when he is super affectionate towards her and is so willing to just accept the good side of him and forget the bad. But that will keep popping up more and more till she can't really ignore it.
Oh no.
But good times are still ahead. So in 1974, on January 7th, their daughter, Sarah Maria, who they nicknamed Sally, is born. And during this time, it's super cute. When Carly's giving birth, James pretends to be a seagull to distract Carly from her pain and pretends that the contractions are ocean waves.
Oh.
And so as she's giving birth, he's like, Carly, look up. It's
That is
so
cute.
cute. And then while Carly is giving birth, he also writes the song Sarah Maria
During it.
during it, which he performs at a concert again that night. Like
What
James,
the fuck?
James keeps having concerts the same night of like huge life events.
Oh my god. That's impressive.
I
You could
know.
perform it later that night.
I know. The lyrics are cute. It's, well, the moon is the ocean and the stars are in the sky, and all I can see is my sweet Maria's eyes. Oh, Sarah, Sarah Maria.
Aww.
So they're really big into the beach and that ocean life.
That's so true.
So James goes on tour while Carly is home in Martha's Vineyard with the baby, and while he's away, she ends up having this, feels super normal, but she has a swimming pool built without asking him. I mean, it's not normal because it's expensive, but it's a normal fight, I guess.
Yeah,
Because
without asking
they have a
him.
huge fight about this, that she had a swimming pool built.
What was he mad about? Just like the expense, or
The
that he didn't like
expense-
where it was? Or...
He didn't like that she didn't ask. And
That is a pretty big deal.
yeah.
Was it like an in-ground pool? I'm guessing you can't really get rid of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he had a problem with the fact that like they're living on the water, like by the beach, and that she would have a swimming pool built.
He was like, why would you do that? Like judging her thought process there or something.
Yeah, yeah. But she says in her memoir, like, I could have sworn I told him, but I think it might have slipped her mind.
That reminds me of like my parents' fights.
Yeah.
Hi, mom and dad.
Yeah.
I can just picture my dad, like my mom coming home having bought something and my dad being like,
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. It is to a next level because I guess
Yeah.
the swimming pool is something that I think a married couple would discuss.
Yeah, that is pretty extreme.
But when you have that kind of money, it's like, I don't know.
I know. I get what he's saying, but they were celebrities. You would assume they have a pool, right?
Exactly. It'd be kind of weird to be a celebrity without a pool.
I know. I feel like rich and famous have pools.
Yeah, exactly. Carly also writes in her memoir that during this time, even though they are monogamous, they allow each other to explore fantasies for the sake of their music, like in their head.
Oh,
so
that's
they'll write
interesting.
songs.
Kind of like that.
Yeah, they'll write songs with other muses and they don't question it.
Fantasies. Wow.
Mm-hmm. So it's 1976 now, and Carly believes that she is pregnant. So she's about to tell James, but as she's about to tell him, he tells her that he needs to get tested for gonorrhea.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding me?
No.
No. Fuck.
So that's pretty
That's
bad.
really upsetting.
Yeah, I know. And she was so excited to.
I thought they could only have fantasies.
I know. So obviously not. So this kind of reveals that more is going on than just that.
Oh my god.
And at first, actually, she's really concerned for him. But then she gets mad and she actually tries to hit him with the guitar, but he dodges that. And then she drives away in rage and then comes back. And she has a really forgiving attitude. She just kind of lets it go.
Crazy.
Yeah. Then in 1977, she gives birth. She actually was pregnant to their second child, a son named Ben. So,
as you said.
Mm-hmm. A girl named Sally and a boy named Ben. And yeah, in this year, they also do a sit-down interview on the Dick Cavett show. And I thought I'd show you a little clip.
Let's hear it.
Chart in your apartment saying who's up and who's down and whose record is where and so on.
We try to eliminate the gold records and the charts and any news about how the records are doing from the house itself.
What do you think the roots of stage fright are? They used to say in a book I read as a kid about acting, if you are nervous, try and think why you're nervous. It sounds like Richard Nixon, and then that will help you to go on. Have you ever tried to think why you're nervous and then had it dissolve?
I've never had it dissolve, but I've thought a good deal about why it exists.
Yeah.
It's gotten soft a couple of times.
Never dissolved, though.
I think
She's great on stage. I think that she's suffering under the misconception that nobody else feels the way she does. But I think everyone who feels stage fright often feels as badly as you do. I think that Carly just won't allow herself to feel too bad, which is a terrific thing, you know.
Have you never thought of...
Or you could call me a spoiled brat. That would also be true.
No, I don't mean to imply that at all. I mean that she's buoyant, you know. She won't let herself sink.
Sink.
And sink.
I don't know. I just really liked that clip. Like, James's voice, he's so soft-spoken and so sweet. And so I can just really see how Carly could be into him, because I'm going to say a lot of things that aren't very sweet, but...
Yeah. No, I can see it, too. That seems so real, too.
I
Just
know.
the way you spoke back and forth. I love her huge smile. It's so cute.
Oh, she's beautiful.
She's kind of reminding me of Joaquin Phoenix, just like
Okay.
look-wise.
Yeah, I can see that, actually. They do look a lot alike. So yeah, they on that interview, I think they're really cute, and they perform on stage together. But Carly, in her memoir, does write that the marriage really is not what it appears to be to the public at all. She says, sorry, I feel like I'm reading from this too much.
How do you have a good marriage? It's one of my, I don't know, top questions in life.
I know.
I like
Especially
to read articles about it.
Celebrity marriage.
Yeah. That's like a whole different ballpark.
She says in her diary, August 5th, 1977, our relationship is far from the idyllic one that the general public reads about. James continues to escape. He can express his angry feelings to me much more readily than his loving ones. He tells me he loves me either in songs, no little measure, or when I am sleeping, and he's just turning, he will say, I really love you, Carly. I'm sorry I'm being a bummer, and I'm too tired to respond. Still, by the end of every day, I always soften back to my default position of delight and thankfulness that I'm married to James. And she's so in love with James. Like, all these transgressions, everything, she's so forgiving to him, and...
Seems like it.
But he does, like, so it's confusing, though. In 1977, that year, he releases the song There We Are on his album JT, and these are the lyrics. Oh, I don't know if I told you, but you hold my heart in your hand, and I found out something about you, baby. Without you, I'm a lonely man. So though I never say that I love you, darling, I do. Carly, I do love you. And though we are as nothing to the stars that shine above, you are my universe, you are my love. Here we are like children forever, taking care of one another while the world goes on without us all around us.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
What does he say? So though I never say that I love you, what's up with that?
I know. Well, yeah, he's definitely aware that he's not that affectionate.
Yeah, it's so interesting. It's just boggling. Like, he is so thoughtful seeming and soft-spoken, like you said, and gentle and introspective, and, you know, it's just, there's such a contrast.
I know, yeah. And, like, I mean, it kind of reminds me of, it's so different, but John Mayer, like, he has such a reputation for being a sleazeball.
I can see that.
But his music is so romantic.
Yeah.
That's how can this person exist as an artist and as a person at the same time. Like, James's music is so loving, and that verse makes me melt. So though I never say that I love you, darling, I do. Carly, I do love you. Mm-hmm. So sweet.
I love the last part about, like, the world around us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think some people do love and can be very sweet and romantic and affectionate and stuff, but they are just troubled.
Yeah, I mean, and James has been troubled his whole life. Like, he had a lot of mental health struggles when he was young, and obviously, as we mentioned, his parents' divorce greatly affected him, so I think there's definitely an intimacy issue there.
Yeah.
And he also is obviously cheating on Carly. So, I don't know what's up with that. James, you gotta do better.
Oh my god.
You gotta do better, you're gonna lose her. That's all I'm gonna say. 1978, they sing lead vocals on a cover of the song Devoted to You for Carly's album, which became a top 40 hit. And Carly writes in her memoir that at this age she isn't focusing on James as much just because she's so busy with her music and the kids. Mm-hmm. And she writes, "It didn't occur to me at this time that James might have had a girlfriend." Or that girlfriend even had a name. Mm-hmm. And I feel like she writes in her memoir a lot that, like, she's struggling with, now that, like, she's a mom, James just kind of sees her, like, as the mom of the children and not as, like, an attractive young person that he fell in love with, which is...
I fucking hate that.
I know.
Sorry for my language. But I feel like that's a common thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not even just with celebrities or whatever. And that's a fear of mine someday, you know? I hate that. It's like one thing I just hate about our world. We live in a society, whatever. But, you know, I feel like once someone becomes a mom, I think everyone stops seeing them as a real human being.
I know.
That's like, I'm mom, you know?
But they don't do that with dads. If anything, it's like they're even more attractive to men when they become fathers.
I know. And just stop doing that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the next movement that needs to happen.
I know, seriously. Sexualize the mom.
Yeah. It doesn't change. Like, you're still an interesting person. Like,
I know.
also, someone has to raise the kids.
I know,
You can't
exactly.
I do think there is a little bit... Sorry, I'm, like, ranting now. There can be a little bit of, like, oh, moms only talk about their kids or whatever. But, like... It's important to care about them.
Yeah. They're doing their job.
You know. Anyway.
I know.
That just breaks my heart.
I know. So then in 1979, a close friend of Carly's casually mentions to Carly that James's girlfriend...
What? Her friend just casually mentions?
Yeah, mentions something about James's girlfriend, assuming that Carly would already know.
Oh my god.
And Carly didn't know anything about it.
That would be horrible.
I know. And so apparently James has been dating a backup dancer for him named Evie, who is living in an apartment on West 17th Street in Manhattan that James uses for recording. So it's a studio.
She's living there.
That James owns. And James is really cold when Carly confronts him about this. He doesn't even try to hide it. He just acts very nonchalant about it.
It's a little spooky.
Mm-hmm. Kind of reminds me of the book Conversations with Friends, where they're like just so casual about this like affair that's going on. She says, I confronted James about it, going so as far as to fall onto the rug in despair. This isn't about you, James said coldly. But if it wasn't about me, who then was it about? Did James feel as I did that we were really not living but merely simulating? That something once clear, sharp, generous, infinite, a window view looking out over some forever landscape was now too hazy to see through.
How could he say this isn't about you?
I know.
Like she's your wife?
I know, seriously. Obviously she's a factor here.
Yeah. That's so selfish.
I know. But
this is breaking my heart.
So Carly writes in her memoir that she kind of accepts that this is just the way that rock and roll is, and that she didn't know one male musician who wasn't sleeping with random women on the side.
Oh no.
Which makes me really sad. Like, is that true? And
I think it kind of is.
I know. Like, all the musicians today, are none of them faithful to their wives at all?
I know. I wonder that. I wonder that too, even about like I just saw The National recently, and like that they're in like their 40s now, and I was even wondering like, do they like still hook up with people?
Yeah.
Like, you know, what's the deal? I don't know. Or are some musicians totally just boring and just, you know, go back to the van or the bus and hotel? And, I don't know.
I get really freaked out whenever I hear of any like casual cheating ever and something like this. Like, is this a thing about the whole world? Like,
no,
is cheating that commonplace that like someone could be confronted about an affair and it's like no big deal?
I think it's a big deal.
Yeah.
I think it is common maybe, but I do think rock and roll, it's just a totally different thing. I mean, you have people like throwing themselves at you all the time.
Yeah.
You're probably always going out for drinks and stuff and meeting people, and you're traveling, and I don't know. Not that I'm not excusing it, but I think that it's just a crazy atmosphere. But yeah, that does upset me. Mm-hmm. Everybody?
I know, seriously.
I mean,
because she knew the Beatles.
What?
She knew the Beatles too.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I guess you probably know more than I do, but, like, does that include them cheating on their wives?
Well, we know John did. Mm-hmm. I don't know the intricacies of the others yet. But I know that, I mean, I'm swearing so much this episode. I love Paul, you know, and I think him and Linda's relationship, I haven't done, like, a deep dive yet, but I would love to, because I love them. But I hope he didn't cheat on her, because I think of them as like the perfect relationship. But I know that before Linda, he did sleep around a lot. Mm-hmm. So,
I mean, you had a friend who was, I'm not gonna say the band, but was a groupie for a well-known, popular pop boy band. Yeah, it's not the one you're thinking of.
It's not the one you're thinking of. And they, I don't know if I should be saying this. Yeah, but they seemed really squeaky clean from the outside. Like, you would think they're like Disney Channel type of people. Yeah. But they were having like orgies.
And we're sleeping with multiple people a day.
In one night. Yeah. Which, so I'm sorry, disgusts me. But just like that scale freaks me out. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know.
I guess it just makes you wonder, like, for men in general, if they have access to be able to sleep with whatever women they want, will they take advantage of it? I know. And at what cost?
I know.
So,
what percentage of men?
I know. I want to see the data of all the male musicians and rock stars, and like how, like, who was the most faithful? Yeah. And which ones were the cheaters? Because it seems like most of them were cheaters, and it's so casual.
I know. Maybe it is one of those things where I do think who you hang out with really can influence your morals and just how you see the world. And if they are like, everybody does it, then you think it's normal.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Carly was influenced by that as well because she felt very unloved and alone. So she starts having an affair herself with a sound engineer named Scott Litt at her studio.
Scott Litt.
Yeah, yeah, Scott is getting very lit.
That sounds like a movie character.
I know.
Scott Litt.
And but her music producer tells her that she needs to tell James about this.
Why?
I know James is already busy with his girlfriend.
What does the producer have anything to do with this?
I don't know. So she tells James, and James is not fazed by it, and instead admits, "I'm seeing a few women myself."
My jaw's dropped right now.
And so
I'm seeing a few women myself.
Carly later on thinks to herself that this is the reason why James was unfazed by that call from Mick Jagger's wife right before their wedding.
Like, well, I'm doing that too.
Yeah, it was like
so upsetting.
an unspoken agreement at that point that they're allowed to step outside the marriage, even though they did have a rule that they were monogamous.
What the heck?
You know,
I feel betrayed.
It's really sad. So Carly even writes a very beautiful, sad song about the state of their relationship. It's called "We're So Close." These are the lyrics.
Okay.
It's come to be a habit with me to dine alone. You're never home, and the evenings end so early. He says we can be so close from afar. He says the closest people always are. We're so close that in our separation there's no distance at all. There's a husky voice that speaks to me in the dark and on the phone from studios and West Side bars. Though tunnels of long distance, he says, we're beyond flowers. He says, we're beyond compliments. We're so close that we can dispense with love. We don't need love at all.
That is so sad.
I know. It's so sad. But honestly, I feel like a lot of couples can relate to that. Like, the feeling of being so close with someone that, like, you let go of trying in their relationship.
That's definitely a common killer of relationships, I would say.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder.
Yeah.
To all you people listening out there.
All you people listening.
Tell the people you love that you love them.
Yeah. Keep trying to woo the person that you're seeing, I guess, as if it's the beginning.
Oh.
And offer to make them a home-cooked meal.
Oh.
And chop some wood.
Yeah.
And profess your love
it is
to the
sad.
moon.
Like, they seemed so cute and in love.
I know.
This is hard to hear.
I know. I feel like I skipped over parts in her book, too, that, like, were really lovey-dovey. Like, she just loves James so much.
Would you have said that he felt the same way?
I think in a quiet way he did, but I think she definitely came on stronger and was more vocal about her affection for him. But he did love her, but it just seemed like a lot of his love was spontaneous, though. Like, even his proposal, you know, because during that time he also was really depressed and doing heroin, so it just kind of came out of nowhere. But, I mean, like, yeah, like when she was giving birth and he was...
That's true. That's cute.
You know, distracting her. It was inconsistent.
I kind of hate that, though, when, like, you can't really tell how someone feels and they're being distant and down. And then all of a sudden they're like, I love you. And oh, it's so nice. And then back to being down and weird.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. It's like kind of a trauma bond. Like,
yeah.
The fact that James set expectations so low most of the time made the moments where he is present and loving seem so much more special.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, another big stress in their marriage, too, was the fact that their baby, Ben, was sick all the time. There was one night where he was so sick and running a very high fever, and James was nowhere in sight. He presumably was with his girlfriend, Evie. Carly writes in her memoir. But then the next evening, Ben's fever was down, and James So finally James comes home. And they get the fever down. They stay up all night trying to cool the baby down. And Carly writes in her memoir, but then the next evening, Ben's fever was down, and James bounced up and told me that he had to go pick up a friend. I'll be right back, he said. He didn't return until 8:30 the following morning. I sat there in the living room, stone-faced. Either you're here or you're not, I said wanly. All right, James said after a silence, I'll move out. Right now, I said, right now, I said, and I don't want the kids to see you again. I'm calling a lawyer. I want a child separation.
No.
But so then James does leave the house, and Carly is home, and she's really upset about it. Then the next day, James just comes back, and they don't address it. And Carly's actually relieved that he came back.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if she, when she said that, like, almost didn't mean it or want it or something.
I
you know
think
what I mean?
she said either you're here or you're there.
That's very upsetting that he was like, okay.
Yeah, he
I'll
didn't
move
say.
out.
Yeah. He didn't fight for her, but he at the same time didn't want to leave. But Carly is still fed up by this affair. So she actually secretly gets a copy made of the key to that apartment where Evie is staying in.
Ooh, nice.
I know. And she plans to confront Evie.
I was thinking whatever you said the address was, like 114th Street or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I would go down there. Actually, I don't know if I would, but I would want to go down there, bang the door open with a bat, and be like, who the fuck is this?
So, yeah, Carly's really debating it. Like, she thinks, like, this is crazy. I don't know if I can do it. And she's really nervous, but she does it. She leaves James home with the babies, and she goes out to the apartment.
Okay, I have a question. When you say leaves him at home, is this at Martha's Vineyard?
No, this is actually in New York.
Okay.
Yeah, they spend...
I was getting confused. Like, how are they going from MV to New York?
No, they have an apartment in New York too.
Okay.
I think Martha's Vineyard is mostly a summer.
Like, taking the ferry.
Get
in there. Get in my car. Or maybe she flies.
No. Yeah, this is when they're in New York. So I don't know what he's doing infidelity wise in Martha's Vineyard. If he has another girlfriend on the island.
Lifeguard.
Anyway. But so Carly really wants the girlfriend to, like, see her as a real person and to, like, know that, like, it's a real marriage that she's interfering with.
Makes sense.
So she goes there and she confronts Evie and she says, I'm Carly, I said. And Evie says, well, you're not a friend of mine. I know, but still, I'm Carly.
I know, but still, I'm Carly.
And Evie says to her, James doesn't love you. Don't you know that? He calls you a Jap. And he told me you buy, I don't know. He told me you buy big Mercedes convertibles and drive around California trying to be a movie star, but you're not pretty enough. She continued in this vein. Jamie had told her that I'd built a swimming pool because I couldn't bear to step on any seaweed or any rocks beneath my feet where real people go swimming.
This comes up again.
I know.
Okay, I love the beach. Not to go into a tangent here. I do. I love the beach.
Yeah.
But, like, sometimes it's too cold. I'm guessing they would have a heated pool or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes there's sharks in Martha's Vineyard.
Sometimes the waves are too treacherous.
Yeah.
And you want to still go swimming.
Yeah, and sometimes you just want to, like, float.
Mm-hmm.
Or just, you know, read a book on the water. I mean...
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the best of both worlds having a beach and a pool at your disposal. I mean, you ever go to a nice resort? You got both right there.
I know.
And you can choose. I love having not a care in the world, but to decide, am I going to spend the day at the beach or the pool?
Yeah, and it's like pool in the morning, beach later, or reverse.
Yeah, you go to the beach and then you get the sand off in the pool.
Yeah.
So I don't know why this is a big issue.
And then they can have a pool party.
Yeah.
With all their rock friends.
I know.
I don't get it.
I don't know why this was a huge marital issue for James.
Evie is... She should not...
She does not
she know
hold
who
back.
she's speaking to?
I know.
This is Carly Simon.
She says more. She says, he says you spend all day shopping and buying fur coats and that you are dressing up your children just like you. He tells me that you nurse your little boy still and that he will grow up to be a fairy. The little boy is still quite young. He said you don't really sing well and that you spend all day getting bikini waxes so you look good for your rich boyfriend who sends planes for you all over the world.
All day getting bikini
I know.
waxes.
It takes 5 minutes. He says you won't even notice when he's out of your house because you're so in love with your diamonds and your fancy shoes and you tried them on in front of your mirror. You are a party girl. You are a bitch. A city girl. A lazy playgirl. What did he call you? Yes, a swashbuckler. That's it.
That's so mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Evie does not hold
Oh my god,
back.
I think I would like break down.
And Carly says to her, I know you want to believe everything James has told you, but you have to see it all can't be true. He would never have loved me in the first place if I was all those things. He just said them to justify his actions to you. And then Evie says, he said once you were sexy and fun, and now you ruined it all with your greediness and your furniture and your manicures.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
What does she say about that? Anything? Like,
she uses the bathroom and she freshens up, and I think she contemplates cutting herself, but she doesn't.
that would be horrible to hear that. To hear your husband said those horrible things about you.
I know. I think she was in shock too, and like she said, she didn't really believe it or believe that he meant it.
What would you have done now?
What would I have done? I would have punched that girl.
I think it would have been, I mean, I've never been in like a physical fight, but I think it would have been really hard, besides with my sisters when I was younger, but I think it'd be really hard not to do something.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know how she just
splash
stood
a
there.
drink in her face or something. Like,
Yeah, because that girl did not hold back. And I really wonder if that's her real name, if she's still out there. But yeah, I'm not a violent person by any means, but I don't think I would have been able to control myself.
yeah,
I would have lost it.
yeah, I don't know. Even just listening to this is not even me. And I'm
know.
like getting all heated up right now.
Even if someone said that to a friend, I think I would have just completely...
I would have marched down there. I would have knocked down the door with that.
So she says, I came out of the bathroom and without a single word put on my coat. I held out my hand to Evie. Shake. Instead, she looked down at the floor. Evie,
Okay.
I said, I'm really glad I came here tonight. I'm sure it didn't make you happy, but I want you to know that I will tell James that I saw you. I tried not to sound pompous or insincere, and considering the context, felt as though I'd succeeded in being decent. When our eyes connected for a split second, I smiled broadly. Evie didn't smile back, nor had I expected her to. I didn't need her to. Mm-hmm.
I'm so upset right now.
I know. And I think James, once again, is seemingly unfazed by Carly meeting Evie.
Oh, great.
I know. It seems like everything he's just, like, nonchalant about, besides the swimming pool.
Yeah, that's so true. What the heck?
So it's 1980, and somehow they're actually still together. And on her 9th studio album, Come Upstairs, Carly releases a song titled James, and the lyrics are, James, your voice is like water. When I lift the shell to my ear, I can hear you pouring out your heart to me. James, the beauty of your voice lifts us from sadness. James, let us become like water together. Sing to me, sit on the edge of my bed as when we first spent nights together. Your body wrapped around your guitar. Let the music speak for your heart. Let them combine like water and sand. Let them meet the air like drops of rain and bring us together once again. She also writes a song called In Pain, which is very depressing, and it's just like about the end of the relationship. 1981, Carly goes on tour for this album, Come Upstairs, but is struggling badly from anxiety and depression due to the crumbling marriage. Their son Ben is also struggling from kidney dysplasia, which is quite serious. It's actually what Sarah Hyland had, the actress from Modern Family, that she needed 2 kidney transplants for. So
Jeez.
that's causing a lot of stress, and Carly isn't really eating, and she's losing a lot of weight. And she actually collapsed on stage at a show in Pittsburgh, and then several other tour dates are canceled because she's too weak to perform.
Oh, no.
No, don't hurt her, James.
No, don't hurt her. She seems like such a ray of sunshine.
Oh, Oh my gosh. And,
so this hurts me.
well, she's just first of all, her book is so beautifully written. Like, even her diary entries from way back when, she has such a beautiful way with words. And she's so in love with James. Like, you know, yes, she does cheat on him, but it's out of a
he
place.
started it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think she kind of does it to get a reaction.
Yeah. That's only fair.
I can't blame her at all for cheating on him.
I mean, they're not really monogamous anymore.
Yeah, no.
So, you know, I don't think that's wrong.
Me neither. I think all's fair once the other person is cheating and will not stop cheating.
Yeah. I mean, he's just basically established this is the way it is, you know?
Exactly. So Carly ends up spending a month in the hospital to gain weight. And when she gets out, James has a new girlfriend, an actress named Catherine Walker, who later becomes his second wife.
My mouth's open again.
I know.
It doesn't convey in audio, but...
He's checking out. James releases his 10th studio album. The lead single is called Hard Times, which gives a clue to fans that their marriage is on the rocks. The lyrics are, "We've seen some hard times, holding it together ain't always easy, an angry man, hungry woman. They're driving each other crazy, it's so low down, showdown. There's nothing else safe to say, baby's on the town, baby's looking around, talking about walking away, don't let go, gotta give it one more chance, we've gotta hold on. Loving me may not make much sense, but I'm gone on you, baby, baby. I'm gone and I want you back again. I may be wrong for you, baby. Maybe I'm wrong, but I love you just the same."
Interesting. Interesting. I wasn't expecting that.
Carly in her memoir keeps repeating that line, angry man, hungry woman, about their relationship.
Oh, I hate that.
I know. And then, in 1981, they're officially separated, and Carly is interviewed about it.
Here it is.
To the state of your marriage, which has been highly publicized, what is the state and prognosis for the future?
God, well, being asked a personal question like this over television, where a lot of people are looking at it, makes me want to take a jump.
Yeah.
It makes me want to just go over there and jump down.
Yeah.
But it's a fairly, you know, accepted fact that we are separated.
Yes.
We're not living together. We're both doing fine. Both mother and child are doing fine. We're in a better state now than we have been in quite a while, and I don't have any feelings of regret about having been married to James. We had 9 wonderful years together, and
2 wonderful children again.
And 2 wonderful children, and I think it's to our credit that we realized when things were no longer really mendable.
Yes.
And that
at least right now.
Yes, and for the foreseeable future. And
I know. You can tell she's just so broken up over it. But she doesn't want to say anything bad about James at all.
Wow. That is sweet, what she said.
But so then it's 1982. James and Carly have been broken up for a year, and James drops off the kids at Carly's place. And Carly writes that their relationship at this time would usually be described as sharp and heated, but occasionally civil. But on this one particular night when James is dropping off the kids, he unexpectedly comes inside the apartment and just sits down, and they just stare at each other in silence until they make their way into the bedroom and sleep together.
Oh my God.
Again. Carly writes,
"Wow.
I noticed that James's long, aristocratic fingers were stained with nicotine. Mostly, I noticed that he wasn't wearing a wedding ring. There was a hesitation, with that familiar weight, like that of some sleek animal grafted onto me. Later, I knew he'd say he was sorry and that he hadn't meant it, that it didn't mean anything. But in those moments, I was in heaven, that lust had toppled him. But then she says, I felt like I was Orpheus leading Eurydice out of the underworld, not daring to look back until we had at least reached the upper air. But unlike the myth, despite the gender roles being reversed, I never looked back and James still disappeared.
Wow. Whoa. Oh my gosh.
But-
that felt like a novel or something.
I know.
I felt like you were reading Twilight.
I know, seriously. It was like a heat of passion.
Sometimes, I feel like from this show, I'm realizing that, like, sometimes real life is just crazier than fiction.
I know, seriously. I know, without saying anything, he sat on the bed. God. Okay, but this is crazy. 1985 now. Carly gets engaged to a drummer named Russ Kunkel, who is...
I need to see how this is spelled.
Kunkel.
Wait, where is it? Okay.
He's drumming on tour with James. He's James's
My mouth
drummer.
dropped again.
Yeah. And Carly is asked about this in an interview with Charlie Rose.
Let's hear it.
Mentioning Russell Kunkel raises the question that's often speculated in the press as whether the two of you are going to get married.
Well, this is a divine possibility.
A divine possibility? He's going to be touring with James, right?
Yes.
Is that going to be easy?
You'll have to ask me that in about 3 months.
What, do you expect trouble? I mean, what does James say about all this?
Again, you'll have to ask James. I don't talk to him about that.
You don't... okay.
This is something, I guess, between James and Russ.
Yeah.
They have been working together for years, and I don't really see that there's any reason to stop.
Yeah.
The interviewer seemed, like Charlie Rose.
Yeah.
So flustered.
I know.
Like,
oh my gosh, Carly.
Doesn't know what to say.
But you know what? I feel like a part of Carly, like based off her book, I feel like she still was in love with James as the years went by. So I do wonder if like there's a little bit of like vindictiveness there on her part.
Yeah, maybe. She was acting kind of like, I don't know.
You gotta ask James.
Yeah.
We don't talk about that. Yeah. I mean, James is always unfazed by these things that he should have emotion for, so.
Yeah. Wow.
They never end up getting married, though.
Oh.
And they decide they're better off as friends.
Interesting.
And meanwhile, during this time, James gets married to that girlfriend from before, Catherine Walker, and they're married until 1996.
Wow. Damn.
Carly is interviewed at her home in New York City, and she says that her relationship with James, this is 1986 now, is strained, but that she still has feelings for him. And she describes that she's the main caretaker for their kids, and that James is only involved when it's convenient for him, and he just kind of comes and goes. And she says, like, I would be probably on tour more often, but I have the responsibility of the kids. My main job is a mom.
Yeah.
Whereas James' main job is still to be a musician first, and he's a father second. I did wonder frequently, like, if James was a present father at all. I think he still remained in Sally and Ben's lives. They're both musicians now, and like there have been videos of them performing with James on stage, but definitely their primary caretaker was Carly, and they're much closer with Carly.
Sad.
Yeah. 1987, Carly marries another James, a man named James Hart, a writer and poet and businessman.
Writer, poet, business.
Yeah, that's how he's described on Wikipedia. They divorced in 2007 because he ends up being gay.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So
That's sad.
I don't really know anything
Is
about.
he gay the whole time?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know much about their marriage, but 1988, James is interviewed, a part of the Joe Jackson interviews, and he's asked about Carly and says he was too young to be married.
What? How can you say that? Here it is.
Let's see.
Are you still friends?
Am I friends with Carly?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say that we were friends. No, I tend to want to have as little contact with her as possible, and I assume that the feeling's mutual. We communicate somewhat about the kids, and that's it.
It ended up that bitterly?
I wouldn't say it's terribly bitter. I just think that it ended, and I prefer to have very limited contact.
Dang.
Yeah, one thing about the Joe Jackson interview is that's the first time we hear, like, James doesn't really communicate with Carly at all. Like, and that kind of speaks back to in Carly's memoir when she's writing about James's coldness towards his exes in the past, how he just completely
Cuts
them out, and that's it.
Door slam.
And I'm all for no contact after a breakup, but he definitely takes it to the extreme.
Yeah.
Like, he's done. And I don't know if maybe that's because he can't control himself. Like, maybe he sees it very black and white, and otherwise he would walk into her apartment and sit on the bed and sleep with her once again.
I am all for no contact when you need to get over a relationship. Like, you should not be talking to your ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend or whatever if you still have feelings for them and you need to move on, whatever. But I do think, like, if years go by, there's no reason to still be so hostile. I mean, unless they did something completely horrible. But, I mean, she's the mother of his children. Like, how can you not talk to her, you know?
Yeah, like, it makes me really sad that they're not on a talking basis when they have children together. Like, I feel like it probably would have been a lot easier for the kids if their parents still got along and could be in the same room with each other. And it's all James choosing not to be.
Yeah. So I gotta ask, where does You're So Vain come into all this?
Oh, that's a great question. She wrote that before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Before they dated?
Or I think at the beginning of their relationship. It's not about James whatsoever.
Oh, really?
I think it's about actually a couple people. She obviously has never really said who it's about. It's 100% not about James Taylor at all.
Darn. Do you think he is vain? Maybe not.
No, I don't think that's his problem. I think he has a lot of problems, but vanity isn't one.
Yeah. I didn't realize that was before.
It could, yeah, that's a good question, though. It could potentially be about Warren Beatty. I think that's one of the biggest suspects.
Interesting. Wow.
But, yep, not James.
Well,
so
that's a pretty successful song.
Oh, yeah. And so when that song came out, too, like, beforehand, James was a lot more successful than Carly, but that kind of switched things for a while because it came out right in the beginning of their relationship.
Okay. Not him.
Nope. He's not even on the table. I think she explicitly says that, too.
Yeah. Makes sense.
That's an amazing breakup song. Actually, just in our last episode when we were talking about Alanis Morissette and You Oughta Know and just like how direct that song is, kind of reminds me of You're So Vain.
Yeah.
Like just being like not holding back at all.
They're both iconic breakup songs. Put them in your breakup playlist, people.
But yeah, so then in 1994, she's on the Howard Stern show.
Oh my god.
And Howard does not hold back.
He never does. Oh, so, you know you're getting something good. All right.
Here's a clip.
Heard he looks like James Taylor and he sings like James Taylor, your son, which has got to be a nightmare for you because you're reminded of James every minute when you look at him, right? Or is it good?
It's wonderful.
Is it? Everything with you is wonderful.
I really... I
like James.
I think the world of James.
You do?
Absolutely, and it's...
You must have gotten a good settlement. You guys split everything equally when you broke up? God, that must have been a bonanza. Between your money and his money?
Yeah, they just took their own separate piles, I think.
I'm going to take a guess. I'm going to say that was a $100 million divorce settlement. 50-50.
You got to remember that because I don't do concerts, I don't make a lot of money, and also,
but James performs 2-3 times a day.
James
he makes up for what you do. That's right.
Since we've been divorced.
Yeah, he's great.
James does make a lot of money.
He's great, but
he is great.
Yeah, but obviously he wasn't the man that could satisfy you.
No.
Oh, yes, that's true.
That isn't true.
You needed a real man.
No.
You don't need no sensitive man who sings folk tunes.
Stop that.
You need a guy. You need an angry shock jock.
You don't need to belittle him.
You need a baseball player.
You do not need to belittle him.
Can't believe he broke up. Did he break up with you? Or you broke it off with him?
It's never just one. It takes two to tango, and it takes two to pretty much dissolve something that's that important.
Because I would have stayed with you. I find you very sexy, unless you're a pain in the ass to live with. I can't figure out the downside.
Well, what did he say when you asked him that?
He said you were a pain in the ass to live with.
Oh, stop.
He did. He
Never
did.
said that.
Oh, God, he badmouthed
He did that?
you. Yeah. Well, what do you want to say about him? Now that he had his opportunity, you should certainly...
Would James do that?
Oh, yeah.
He wouldn't do that. He's such a gentleman.
No, he is. He did not. He said you were hard to live with, though. You were very difficult. And you only... He said toward the end... You only,
kids are listening.
he said toward the end you didn't give him that much sex.
No.
He did. He said he only got it like 2 or 3 times a month, and he just couldn't take it anymore. Now, my guess on James is that he probably started messing around with some groupies and stuff, and you caught him.
Well,
how close am I? I could figure this whole thing out.
You can't. Well,
How close am I? Am I close? Just tell me if I'm...
to stutter again.
Am I getting it warm? Am I getting warm?
No, you're not.
Tell the truth.
You know what? It was
Did you
my
catch him?
fault. Let's just say it was my fault.
You were busy.
You didn't go on tour with
You didn't pay attention to his needs. You were caught up in your own
I
fame.
didn't understand a lot of what I needed to understand. I was young, and
What did you need to understand?
Yeah, what's to understand?
I needed to have greater understanding for what he was going through in his life.
He just goes for it.
Oh, he doesn't hold back at all. And it's sweet how Carly is like, you don't need to belittle him. Like, she really, even though she really has every right to belittle him, she is so respectful of James and is defensive of him. Years later.
Wow. Why is she being so kind and selfless? Like, it's nice and it's admirable, but no.
She's so hard on herself. It was not her fault at all.
Not at all.
Not even remotely close. I think she did everything she could to keep that marriage alive, past the point of no return, and forgave a lot that, in my opinion, is unforgivable. And I think Howard Stern is so funny, but I was feeling really bad for her.
I know. I feel really bad. But, I mean, she should have just said the truth. I mean, I get it. She doesn't want to talk badly about James. But that's frustrating me.
I mean, even in her memoir where she's writing about James cheating on her, like, obviously his actions are pretty bad, but she still speaks of him with the utmost kindness and love, and
what the fuck?
She's not willing to badmouth him at all. I mean, he is the father of her children, so I wonder if he really did say that to Howard Stern about...
That's so mean.
Her not sleeping with him enough.
Like, why can't he reciprocate?
I know. And honestly, 2 to 3 times a month isn't bad.
I know.
when you're married.
Yeah, 2-3 times a month. That's good. I mean, he's traveling all the time anyway.
I know, exactly. I mean,
how old are you at this point?
I know.
2 to 3 times a year, some people do.
Sometimes never.
Yeah.
So
yeah. He's got a problem.
Yeah. So yeah, 2001, James marries Boston Symphony Orchestra director Kim Smivdig, and they go on and have 2 sons, Rufus and Henry. They're still together to this day. He's still married to this woman. In an interview later, James says something like, well, when you love someone, that's just what you do. You just do the right thing and get married.
Okay.
So just kind of weird because like he'd already been married twice before.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's just doing that because he feels like it's the right thing to do. But
I'm sorry, I still can't get over Howard Stern saying only gave him sex 2 or 3 times a month.
I know.
Yeah, I mean he does give the best interviews, but that is so crossing a line.
I know. Wait, do you think that James really said it?
I don't know.
I do believe that James probably said that she was difficult to live with.
Yeah.
I don't think he said this in an on-air interview, though. It must have been off the record.
And, like, does he know Howard Stern a little bit? Or, like, was this the first time they met and he just said that?
I
like,
know.
Yeah, well, you know, she's hard to live with and
she doesn't put out that easily.
I bet Howard Stern just is inferring that.
Yeah, exactly.
He's kind of making it up.
I mean, he probably put the words in James's mouth, I'm guessing. How many times did you sleep together? 4 times a month? 6 times a month? 2-3 times a month? Yeah. 2-3. Okay, you said 2-3.
I bet he does that.
Yeah, that's probably how it went down.
All right.
I love how Howard Stern kept clapping to himself, too, after he said something. Like, you need a real man.
Yeah. Was he trying to say himself?
Yeah.
He's like, you need a real shock jock. Like,
you're a beautiful woman.
Oh my god, he can't hold back.
He's so funny.
He feels that way for Kristen Stewart too.
Yeah, exactly. Carly Simon in a way kind of reminds me of Miley Cyrus for some reason.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or I guess Miley reminds me of Carly Simon.
Okay.
I feel like, with their haircut now too, and
Yeah. I don't see it yet, but I'll keep my eyes
there's
open.
like a huskiness in the voice. Yeah, keep your eyes open. So Carly actually remained a lifelong friend with James's brother, Livingston Taylor.
Livingston.
Yeah, and they collaborate on music together all the time and attend events together for each other. And in 2002, they even released a duet titled Best of Friends. This is James's brother.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah, and like if you go on like Livingston's Instagram page, like all the time he calls Carly like my dear beautiful friend.
Interesting.
And it's just interesting because James doesn't communicate with Carly at all. He's cut her completely.
How's that possible?
I know.
That's very nice. They have this beautiful friendship. I can imagine that being annoying maybe for James. Like he sees his brother at family party or whatever, Christmas, and it's like, oh, you're hanging out with my ex-wife all the time?
I know, exactly.
I mean, it is sad though when people break up and they are supposed to like not see the other people in their ex's lives anymore, so
I know. Even in 2020, during like the lockdown stuff, Livingston did a little online concert of Carly's music, and when he's starting it, he's describing her, my old and beautiful friend, Carly Simon.
Is he in love with her?
I know, maybe.
My old and beautiful friend.
It's just so interesting because
I ship it.
I know, me too. Actually, he looks a lot like James.
I don't know
as
if he's
well.
married or whatever.
I think he might be. But Carly has so much love and respect too for the Taylor family, so it's really only James that has cut her out. I feel like his whole family loved her too. In 2002, also, Carly is interviewed on CBS Sunday Morning and reveals that James gets mad whenever she talks about him in the press.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
You have to know that even after all this time, people are still interested in you and James Taylor.
I am not allowed to talk about it.
By
James. Every time I talk about this subject, I get a lot of grief from James, who doesn't really like to acknowledge that he has a past.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I know, it's kind of interesting that like she didn't say to like her publicist or something beforehand, like, oh, James is off the table or anything.
Yeah.
She kind of did want us to know that like James is forbidding her
Oh my god.
from talking about their relationship.
Is he pissed about this memoir?
Actually,
Boys and
no.
Trees?
Later on, James, let's see, he releases I'll just skip ahead to your point.
Okay.
In 2020, James actually releases an audiobook about the first 21 years of his life. So conveniently, Carly.
Just an audiobook?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How does that work?
I don't know.
There's no book component?
No, it's just an audiobook.
Okay.
So he must have written it down somewhere and then just read it, but you can't read it yourself.
Okay.
I don't know why. Maybe it's just like cheaper that they don't have to print it. And Carly's excluded besides a brief mention of when he met her at 14 years old in Martha's Vineyard. And he says about her memoir, I think she's been pretty kind to me, and that's certainly her story to tell. Maybe she got better offers, or maybe they were more compelling somehow. One should be free to be oneself and not the prosecuting attorney in the defense. It would be hard for me. I don't really know.
What would be hard for him?
I don't know. Like, hard for him to tell his side of the story.
But doesn't he have a book that you read?
Well,
it's about him.
That's a biography about
okay.
him, which was written with interviews from his family, but he didn't write it himself.
Okay.
And that one is a little less like revealing. It kind of mostly walks through his career.
Oh, okay.
Boring.
Was Carly even mentioned at all?
Yeah, she was mentioned. Okay. And she was interviewed for that book as well, actually.
Oh.
So she participated in the writing of it.
Cool.
I know.
Was it after they broke up?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. 2007, Carly, along with her kids Ben and Sally, sing a cover of James's song "You Can Close Your Eyes" on her album Into White, and then they appear on Oprah, and she says that she decided to cover that song because he's one of the great songwriters of all time.
Oh,
I know. She still loves him. In 2010, James is interviewed and makes a rare comment about Carly. This is a part of 730 Report.
You're reluctant to talk about your first wife, Carly Simon, which I'll respect, but can we talk for a moment about your music together? Because for a time there, you were America's, indeed much of the world's, favourite singer-songwriter couple.
Oh, no, I'm happy to talk about Carly.
So how important was that part of your life? It must have been very consuming at the time.
It was, and but it was a very public marriage and a very, for me it was just premature. I had no business making that. It amazes me that people get married at the age of in their 20s at all. I mean, what do you know?
Very little.
No, it was just. It was sort of. It was kind of doomed. I mean, really, it was just. I was unfit to be a husband and father, and we.
Must be a very tough thing to say and to acknowledge.
Yeah, no, it's not hard to say it. It's just patently true.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, he had his struggles with mental health and drugs and alcohol for his early 20s, and
yeah,
I don't think he was even really clean by the time he got married and had kids, so it obviously was not the best time for that type of commitment.
It's pretty chill and zen of him to say it like that. Just, it's not hard to say, just it's true. I wasn't fit for it, I wasn't good.
I don't know, his face when he says, like, no, I'm happy to talk about Carly, like, I feel like it tells many stories there.
I know.
I do think he was quite sad about the end of the relationship, though. Like, I do think he really did love Carly. And maybe the reason he doesn't talk to her anymore is because he can't really face, like, his own guilt about that relationship ending.
Yeah, I think that happens a lot.
I know.
I'm heartbroken.
So, almost to the end. So, 2015 is when this book actually came out.
Oh.
And so, in this book, Carly actually reveals that she still lives at their home in Martha's Vineyard.
Really?
And she even still sleeps in the same bed that they once shared. And she still has a lot of James's belongings just up in the house and hasn't even changed the living room much since they lived together. And these are a few comments that Carly made in the memoir about her feelings about James in 2015. She says, "Because no matter how many years have gone by, James for me will always be a big part of what I call home." She also says, "Today, James would likely forget a good many things I remember being flooded with color, just as he might also recall sunlight on days that for me were gray and dimly lit. Whatever he thinks of me today, I dare say it's slightly less damning than the way I see myself through his absent eyes."
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That is sad. Oh. That's so true.
I
so
know.
True.
I know.
I hate that.
She's a beautiful writer. She says,
she is.
"When James walked into a room, any room, he transformed it, charging it up with his radiance, his message of, 'I'm just passing through, but while I'm here, it's the night before Christmas.' Thinking about it now, many years later, I can still feel the, oh dear sweet Jesus, he's here, James is here feeling, and that's all there is to it."
Oh my God.
I know.
That is love.
Seriously, it's so beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah, like even
dear sweet Jesus.
Even though James isn't in her life anymore, when she still feels a radiance in the room as magical as Christmas, it reminds her of James. All these years later, after everything.
I'm gonna cry.
She also says, I've stopped trying to stop loving. The heart may be broken, but brokenness doesn't stop it from loving. How can you not love a person whose genes are in the two people, your children, you love most in the world?
I think that's totally human and very normal to still love who you used to be with, you know? Even if they really hurt you and you're not together anymore, you know? Like, how can... I just always struggle. Like, how can it go from being so in love to, like, nothing or to hate, you know?
I agree. And I also think that forcing yourself to not love somebody who you loved a lot just for the sake of moving on with your life doesn't really make you stop loving them.
Yeah.
It's not going to make it any easier. It just is repressing that feeling. And so, like, it's okay to still love somebody, but to, like, not be together.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. I don't know, maybe this is speaking to somebody that's hearing this and going through it, but you can sit with that and still feel those feelings of love, and that doesn't mean that you have to do anything about it or to get back with that person, but it's just okay. And I like how Carly has accepted that she doesn't need to make herself not love James. I know. She also makes several comments about him in the press, and she actually tells the Times that James forbids their kids from sharing his phone number with her.
Wow. She can't have his phone number. I thought she wasn't supposed to talk about them.
I know. She's talking about them.
Also, like, he doesn't control her. He doesn't own her.
No. You know, Carly, you talk about him as much as you want.
You know, even if he requested that, she doesn't have to say yes.
I know, exactly.
You know?
He can't forbid her from doing anything. I mean, if he wouldn't stop himself from cheating on her...
With Evie
and
others.
Getting gonorrhea when she was pregnant, then she can do whatever the fuck she wants, James.
I know. But wow, that's crazy. She can't have his phone number.
Damn. Yeah. 2021, actually, so basically the present, Carly is asked about her relationship again with James Taylor. She's constantly asked about this, and this is her response.
What's the relationship with James Taylor now?
I don't speak to him. He never comes here. He doesn't even come to Ben's house, which is right down the drive.
Your son's house?
Yeah. He doesn't feel at home on the island. He recently said to somebody, it's her island, it's not my island anymore. The relationship is a pest. It's a pest for him on one level, and it's a pest for me on another level. But I'm saying, let's put on some lotion that's gonna help us. We've got to, because we're both public figures. The world knows both of us, or some of the world knows both of us. Some knows. What would you do? What would you do if you were presented with this problem?
I'm not sure. I am sure that I'm glad I don't have this problem.
I am too.
I love that she asked the interviewer.
I know.
What would you do?
What would you do? That's a conversation with Dan Rather on AXS TV.
Okay. It seems like he wasn't expecting that.
I know. I'm not sure. I'm really thankful I don't have that problem. What if he did have that problem?
Yeah.
Well, with my wife.
Yeah. Oh my God. He won't even visit Ben.
I know.
So
I know.
This is Martha's Vineyard they're talking about?
Yeah.
Wow, that's sad. He used to love Martha's Vineyard.
I know, and he doesn't even feel like it's home anymore. I know. It makes me really sad. I mean, they're getting older, too. They're in their 70s, and I really wonder, like, you know, life is short. Like, will there ever be reconciliation for the two of them? Can they ever be on speaking terms? Like,
it's a pest.
So many years have passed, too. He's been married twice after her.
Oh
She's been married before. Like, they have two kids. They're grown adults.
Yeah.
I just don't understand, I think, why he still doesn't talk to her after all this time. Is it because he feels like his current wife would have a problem with it?
Mm-hmm. This is one of these life questions I have. It's like, what is it? Why is it that in romantic relationships it's so unlike any other relationship? Like, for some reason you just can't. Well, some people apparently can, but like, it's you can't change it. Or, like,
I know.
You know what I mean? I'm like moving my hands around, like going to from lovers to friends or just amicable family members or whatever. Like, it's so hard for some reason.
It's so unique. I was thinking that the other day. It's like, why is there this one relationship that is just on such a different level as everything else? And
I know.
This thing that we're all like hungry for at the same time, and it adds so much pressure to life at the same time. And it's just so intense.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know what his deal is though. He's getting older. I mean,
I know. You could just try. I mean, like she's saying, like the lotion.
Yeah.
Metaphorically, like I know it sucks and it's hard, but just try.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I had a friend growing up. Her parents were divorced, but her dad would still go to every Christmas party at her house, and her mom, had a new boyfriend that they lived with, and they were just so amicable. Like they really celebrated together. They would have dinners together. They were good friends after. And I'm sure that took some time, but I feel like that's the ideal for divorced parents. And it makes me sad that some parents can't do that.
I know.
But that's their relationship. That's Carly Simon and James Taylor. I was researching them for weeks and weeks.
You did a great job, Mel.
I hope it came out
I was
okay.
so invested. Yeah. I am like truly, I was just living it. Mm-hmm. I feel like I just went through a breakup and now I'm 70 and still in love with my ex-husband. And
I think Carly still
sad.
She still does love him, which is the part that makes me really sad. And he has such a coldness about him yeah, he doesn't want to acknowledge that he has a past.
Wow.
Likelihood that they'll get back together?
Is he still married?
He's still married.
Okay.
I'm going to say it's probably 0, but I don't know. I mean, maybe he'll, like, at the end of his life, realize that Carly was the one all along. I do think he must, part of him probably still does love her if he refuses to speak to her.
Yeah. Like, if you care that much, there's something there that you don't want to acknowledge.
Yeah. It's been years. Yeah. They broke up in 1981.
Okay, 40 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
40 years ago.
40 years.
And he still won't talk to her. They have 2 kids together.
Oh my god.
You'd think he would be over it by now.
It's truly incredible. I kind of love it in a way that humans can still care about something for like 40 years.
I know, seriously. I mean, I love that she hasn't even really changed the interior of their house all that much.
I love that too.
She still sleeps in the same bed.
I find it hard to believe that she is like this materialistic person.
Oh my god, me too. She seems like such a hippie.
I don't get that. I don't see that. So, is James like a super hippie or something? Like to the next level? Like he doesn't like possessions or something?
No.
Like, okay.
I mean, they're both pretty rich.
Yeah.
And
I'm just trying to figure this out.
And he grew up pretty wealthy as well.
Yeah. If she hasn't even changed the living room, she can't be that, much of a shopper.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, she had the money to go shopping. Yeah. Why is that an issue in their relationship? Her manicures.
I know. And she writes so beautifully and is so introspective. I just don't see her as this, like, material girl.
No, I don't think so either.
And when you try on shoes, you do look in the mirror.
Yeah.
To Evie's point.
I know. I think Evie must have been like in her early 20s or something.
How can you not look in the mirror?
I know,
you
seriously.
Need to see what they look like.
Seriously. And there's nothing wrong with loving yourself and loving how you look and
no, she should love herself.
Treating herself. I mean, she was taking care of the kids. She was a mom. Yeah. She should go get herself a manicure if she feels like it.
I know.
And also the part that would probably be like that's it for me is the part about her still nursing their son. Yeah. And how James had an issue with that and said he's going to grow up to be a fairy.
Yeah.
First of all, that's pretty homophobic.
I know.
But
how
also,
old was the son? Was he still young?
I think he was young, but I mean, he had a lot of health problems too. She
true.
probably was nursing him because of that and to give him some of her antibodies or whatever. But I mean, here she is home with the kids doing all the parenting work, and he's criticizing her about it.
So upsetting.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say, though, your percentage of chance that they'll get
5%.
back together?
I'm going to give it a 5.
Yeah, I would say like 5 too. 5%.
I'm not going to say it's 0 because
You never know.
You never know, and I do think there are feelings there.
Yeah. Oh my god.
And I like that Carly to acknowledge, like, because we are public figures, you know, we have to be on good terms. Like, they're always going to continue to be asked about this relationship, so...
Yeah, probably.
Isn't the best answer that, oh yeah, we get along and we... no bad feelings here.
Yeah. They are going to be asked about it forever. Okay, I need someone, maybe Howard Stern. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I need someone to ask Kristen Stewart these questions about Robert Pattinson.
My God.
I'm sorry, guys. I know it's not related. But...
No, but I was thinking that too when I was reading this memoir. I need Kristen Stewart to write a book like this.
Yes. Oh my gosh. 100%.
I need to learn about the first time that Rob and Kristen slept together.
Yes.
I need to learn about the first time they laid eyes on each other.
Said I love you.
I need to know about the nitty-gritty breakup.
Yeah.
I want about the day after the breakup. I want to know if there was any rebound sex in there.
This is our favorite couple, guys. So
Yeah,
I'm
guys,
sorry.
this is the couple that our podcast is inspired by.
Yeah. I just need someone to ask. Why hasn't Howard asked this? I need someone to ask, do you keep in touch with him? When's the last time you spoke to him?
I know. What I mean? Wait, that's a perfect...
Why hasn't anyone said that?
Yeah.
I mean, I know... Well, that interview was recently, right? I mean, I guess they were married, but I know that people are
last year.
I feel like people are a little more respectful in interviews today. Maybe they feel uncomfortable, or maybe they're not supposed to ask about it, but why hasn't anyone asked about
know.
it?
I mean, maybe because James Taylor and Carly Simon have kids together, it seems like a safer question to ask, whereas when a couple without kids breaks up, it's assumed that they probably don't communicate.
Darn.
But someone should have the balls to ask this. And you know what? If you do it, I'll pay you $50.
Yeah. Or Rob, but I feel like Rob wouldn't answer.
No.
Kristen is more likely to answer the question, for sure. Oh, man. This is fascinating.
And I should mention, too, that I feel like one of the... Even when their marriage was rocky, they always had, like, a fire performing together, and that's, like, when Carly really felt James's love, like, almost the most strongly is when they were on stage together. Yeah. And Carly's not really a performer. I think she said in one of these interviews. She has bad stage fright, so she so rarely performs.
That's so sweet.
But she would with James.
Wow. I wonder if anything else will come out in the future. Any interviews? Or
I don't know.
I don't know.
James, if you're listening, just give Carly a call. You know, go to the Vineyard, swim in the pool.
Yeah. And then tell us what happened.
Yeah.
Is Carly with anybody?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just love her look. Like, I think she still looks great. She's just... I love her smile.
Yeah.
I wanted to say random news. Wait, do you have anything more?
Oh, I guess I had one more random thing about Carly. Shippers of Taylor Swift and Carly Kloss really clinked this couple, interestingly enough, because Taylor Swift was apparently named after James Taylor.
Wow.
And Carly Kloss was apparently named after Carly Simon.
Why did they spell it differently?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
But that's interesting.
So they really identify with this couple.
That is kind of faded.
And Taylor Swift is a huge fan of both Carly Simon and James Taylor. She's on numerous times said on record that she was inspired by their music and has even performed with the both of them. So I do wonder if I wonder if she's like said something to either of them.
Wow.
About being obsessed with their ex.
It's a theory.
But yeah, maybe Taylor Swift will bring them together.
Oh, maybe.
But what were you gonna say?
Oh, just I told you about this, but just, you know, a little weird connection that happened recently, which I feel like keeps happening stuff, that there was a video, this is going to come out way later, but there was an interview that came out recently with Cara Delevingne, and apparently she's getting, I guess she didn't get it yet, but she's getting an Alanis Morissette tattoo, and it's going to be Alanis's she wrote ironic like in her handwriting or something, and Kara's gonna get that tattooed. Just crazy. It's just weird. We just cover them. It's like interesting they connect. You know?
So weird. I feel like so many of our couples keep overlapping.
And I just Googled Cara Delevingne just to make sure I spelled her last name correctly. And then I just saw that and I was like, what? That's so weird.
I feel like our podcast is like, I don't know, manifesting things.
Because remember, also, I know this is our last podcast, but we said Harry and Meghan Markle should just quit being royals, and then they
did. Like a week later.
I know.
So yeah, Kristen Stewart, you should write a memoir, tell all.
Yes,
she should. Share the juicy details like Carly Simon did.
I feel like she writes things sometimes, right? Like she has written scripts and stuff, right?
I'm sure she has journals. And she actually does have a short film, apparently, that was inspired by her breakup with Rob, which we have not watched.
We're going to.
Yeah, one of these days, but...
I don't know what it is. Sometimes you just never get around to
things that you want to do.
Yeah, those things, you know? Mm-hmm. Even if it doesn't even take that much time, it just... I don't know.
Isn't that the beautiful thing of life, that there's so many things that you want to do and not enough time to do them?
I know.
Well, I guess I don't know. Is it beautiful?
It is. Yeah, it is, because we're not, like, bored out of our minds.
Exactly.
Like, there is always something to do
if
you think about it.
Yeah.
If you set your mind to it. Yeah. Oh, wow. Not 3 hours. Guys. I thought John Yoko was going to be 3 hours. It was like 2 hours.
Mm-hmm. And then we thought that Alanis Morissette and Dave Coulier would be like a half hour, and it was...
Yeah, like an hour 15 or something.
Yeah.
I was afraid it was going to be like 20 minutes. And I know that's like not a bad thing, but I just would have felt a little bit like a delinquent or something, like that I showed up with
nothing prepared.
So little to say, but it actually turned out to be more than I thought. Yeah, that's funny.
Well, I'll tease our next episode.
Ooh.
It is a little bit more present day. It involves a breakup between... I was going to totally give it away. It's a little bit more present day. It's about the breakup of a well-known comedian and his wife. You probably already know what this is. But our next episode, it left me feeling so heartbroken that I literally felt sick to my stomach.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a tearjerker, but one that you might be interested in.
We can all cry together.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and also in this relationship, it's probably obvious, but who do you blame?
Oh yeah, completely blame James Taylor. I'm so stupid that I thought You're So Vain was like about him. So then from the beginning, I was like, I blame him from the get-go.
No, actually, nothing to do with him.
I'm glad you taught me that.
But yeah, you guys should listen to We're So Close by Carly Simon. It's so beautiful. Listen to There We Are by James Taylor. And I highly encourage you to also read Carly's memoir, Boys and Trees. It's beautifully written. I feel like there's so many things that I didn't even get to convey, especially about them falling in love and how much she loved him. So
I want to read it.
Yeah, I have it right here. Take it home with you. And that's it. Thank you guys for listening so much.
I don't want to end it.
I know.
Thank you, Mel.
Thank you.
It was a beautiful episode.
Yeah, one of our listeners suggested that we end with, guys, it's not you, it's me. It's not you, it's us.
I love the suggestion, but I don't know. It makes me feel like we're breaking up.
I know. It's not.
I guess it is the end of the episode.
Yeah, but we'll get back together next week.
Oh, yep. I like that. We'll get back together next week.
Oh, yeah, maybe that can be our tagline. Yeah, we love you guys.
Is your heart filled with pain? Shall I come back again? Tell me, dear,